You are listening to A Light to the Nations. This podcast is a production of the Ephesus School Network.
Hi, and welcome to a bonus episode of A Light to the Nations. I'm your host, Father Fred Shaheen. In his audio commentary on the Gospel of Mark, the Reverend Father Paul Nadim Tarazi explains how the titles Lord, Christ, and Son of God are misunderstood by the characters in the New Testament narratives, and thus these titles are systematically rejected by Jesus. In under 4 minutes, Father Paul provides us with a scriptural understanding of what it means to say Jesus is Lord. He also helps us understand faith, not as belief, but rather as trust, something you do. I am pleased to present Father Paul Tarazi in an excerpt from his commentary on the Gospel of Mark. I encourage my listeners to seek out Father Paul's full commentaries on Mark as well as other books of the Bible. In the show notes for this episode, you will find a link to the Orthodox Center for the Advancement of Biblical Studies, OCABS. There you can access Father Paul's commentaries. Thank you for listening today.
And whenever the unclean spirits beheld him, they fell down before him and cried out, "You are the Son of God." And he strictly ordered them not to make him known. Again, this attitude of Jesus. Because the fear in all that is to break the teaching of Paul, namely that the Lordship of Jesus is not visible to the eye. It's in the words of Paul, who's telling you that Jesus is at the right hand of God. And what's the faith or the belief? Again, please, instead of faith and belief, learn to use the word trust, pistevo, he'emin, to put your trust in this world. And this is not an intellectual exercise. Let me make an aside here, because again, I believe it's central about this whole issue of slavery, servitude, servanthood to the Lordship of Christ. Remember, we are in the Roman Empire. The terminology is strict and technical. You didn't have servants the way we understand them. Slaves, douli, they are under the order of the Lord. That's the power of Jesus being Kyrios and Paul being his slave, the doulos. He has to do it. The Lord is not sitting with him and discussing the view of the politics of the Roman Empire. He has a household. He gives orders. They have to be done. Getting excited about the word Messiah, Son of God, and this will make Peter falter later, is to imagine that our relationship with Jesus is as though he appears like a Roman emperor now with all the power to control the world. And obviously you will have people following him, but that's not true. His lordship is on you if you trust in the word of the gospel and you become the doulos xristou. Whereas with the Roman emperor, if you say, I don't want to be his doulos, you're done with. Because indeed he's a lord factually. Jesus is Lord only over those who have put their trust in this word that he is Lord. I'm stressing this point because otherwise we fall in the trap, and we can see it in politics during the life of the Christians and the Christendom and the Christian church. You use power. You use the sword to kill people. The gospel does not allow you to do that. Why? Because you want it seen. And that's why the hope is very important in the letters of Paul. You hope, you await, you look forward for the kingdom. So a philosophical discussion about whether Jesus is Lord is not only immaterial, it's silly. There is no discussion. The question is whether you are his slave.